I've got a secret, and it's a pretty good one. You say you want me to tell you my secret? I can't tell you my secret, and it wouldn't be a secret at all. Welcome to Triple Click, where we bring the games to you. This week we're talking about secrets in video games and how much fun they can be, focusing on secret-filled games like Tunic, Destiny, Mario, Zelda, and something called Elden Ring. Never heard of it. I'm Kirk Hamilton.
I'm Maddy Myers.
And I'm Jason Schreier. Hello.
Hello.
It's us.
Look at who it is.
It's episode 99. What a tease.
Whoa,
It's not
99.
quite 100. We're one away.
It's
This
true.
is as many rupees as we can get. We can't
That's
get
true.
anymore, I don't
It's
think.
true.
Until we get the special wallet.
Yeah,
which
we
is,
got it. We have a whole week to get the special wallet. I hope we manage to get it in time, or else we're going to be stuck at 99.
in time for Max Fun Drive. We need it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're in real
That's
trouble.
a very special wallet.
Can I say, I think that 99 is actually a cooler number than 100. I think it's a better number.
Spoken
cool.
like a salesperson who decides prices for everything, hardware and video games and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Are you the type of person who's like, oh, this Steam Deck actually cost me $639.99 instead of $640?
That was always a thing. Do you remember? That was always kind of a thing when we'd be talking about how much something cost, and you just want to round it up. I noticed this when I'm reading like video game blogs, and
That was always my bugbear. I was like, let's just fucking round them up. Like, I don't want to
just say how much it actually costs. It's $650. It is not $649.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us
Yeah.
are in favor of including the 99, but it's a form of pedantry we could get into at any time. It does
That
sound
is true.
fun.
So you're saying we should round up this episode and just turn it to 100.
This is basically 100.
Well, I guess no, because if that's true, then right, because I do think that 99 is a cooler number than 100. Just because, like, you party like it's 1999. You don't party like it's 2000.
Sure.
It was Y2K. That was a bad thing. But Prince wanted to party like it was 1999.
Sure.
So 99 is better.
But 2000 was the millennium, and the millennium
That's so true, and it's going
now
so
holds
well
a special
so
place
far.
in our hearts.
Yes.
Well, especially, I mean, I don't know. Does the millennium still hold the same special place in our hearts?
I
as it
think
did?
so. I feel like the millennium has been proven to be something we'll never expect. It's
That's
really
true.
taken some
That's true.
turns.
It
I
really
did not
has.
predict personally.
It really has. Well, if you want to become a member and support Triple Click, it doesn't cost $4.99. It costs $5. We round it up for you.
That's true. We did round it up for you. You're
we
welcome.
keep it nice and clean, and it helps us make this show. If you want to be a member, that would be very cool. You can support us and Maximum Fun by becoming a Maximum Fun member for $5 or $10 or more, but it starts at $5. And if you pay that little $5 per month, you get bonus episodes of Triple Click every month, including, I think our next one is going to be in a couple of weeks, and it's going to be about Horizon Forbidden West, a game that we have now all finished and are very excited to talk about. But there are all kinds of bonus episodes in our backlog that you can listen to, and you'll also be helping us make this show. So MaximumFun.org/join is where you go to do that. Not $4.99, not $9.99. We keep it simple for the people.
That's right. Just a regular $5. Before we get to our topic, I feel like we should also say we have a live show next week. Somebody should say it.
We do. It's pretty exciting.
And I will. If Kirk won't, I will.
I
I'll say
refuse,
it.
so it's
I'm
all
not
you.
afraid.
Yeah, Kirk has been boycotting this. He decided that he's on strike and he doesn't want to say anything. So, Maddy, it's a good thing you stepped
Do you think
up.
we could build a whole false narrative that I'm really opposed to doing a live show?
Doesn't want to do it because he's afraid of how he'll look. Raw,
true.
uncut, uncensored.
It's true.
People think Kirk is like the friendly one, like, oh, you can hear him smiling even when he talks, but you don't know. Rules with an iron
No,
fist.
I mostly record. I have my hood up. I'm sort of grimacing all the
His
time.
eyes glowing like a Sith
Yeah.
Lord. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's wild out here.
You do look like Grimace, not like the facial expression, like the character from McDonald's, Grimace.
like a big purple man. Yeah. Sure.
Weird energy today. I like it though. Anyway, we have a live show next week. It's at 6
We do.
p.m. ET, Eastern Time. That is when we are doing it on Tuesday. I guess I should have said it was on Tuesday. People don't know
Yes.
when we record.
Tuesday next week. Maddy, you're really all the vital information in one.
Listen.
Tuesday, April 12th, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. We will be doing a live show on Twitch.
Some people would deliver the information in that order. I like to go 6 p.m. ET, Tuesday.
Maddie's an artist. You know, she's a creative soul.
An artiste.
Yep.
Maybe we should have done like an ARG and hidden the info, made it secret, because that's what today's episode is all about. It's about secrets in video games. So I feel like really the existence of next week's live show should be a secret. That way we'll have two viewers on Twitch. It'll be hilarious.
Which is what we want. We only want it to be exclusive.
We want as few people as possible.
Really cool.
Right.
The new hotness is Twitch live streams with only a couple people who know when and where they are. But you, listener, you're gonna be there.
Well, it's like when a cool band instead of like playing Madison Square Garden or whatever, they're like hidden show, like at this little like whatever, and they don't tell anyone where it's going to be.
Alley,
some store
underground.
It's funny because now I'm thinking about, well, yeah, if we did this secret show, then a lot of people wouldn't see it, but then that's what would make it cool. And I'm actually like starting to have real thoughts about the topic we're going to be talking about, because that is sort of a going concern with secrets in video games.
Yeah, that's precisely correct.
Yeah, it is cool. Well, so yeah, I think this is okay. So today we're going to be talking about secrets in video games, which I think are a fascinating topic. We've been playing, the three of us have all been playing a lot of Elden Ring, obviously, and also a new game called Tunic, which is an indie game that we will talk about more in a couple of weeks. But what both of those games have in common is that they're both very dependent on secrets. As are many of video games, to be honest, but I think those two in particular are just part of the zeitgeist today. I think secrets are super fascinating, especially when a game developer add secrets to their game that they know that some players will never find, sort of like our upcoming Twitch stream, which some viewers, some listeners will never
never
actually
find
get.
it.
Twitch stream. We've actually been doing them for weeks, and we just never told anyone.
So secrets are really interesting, and I think I just want to draw a couple of definitions here, because
Beautiful.
there's a lot of like language we use to describe secrets. There's mysteries or
Wouldn't
Easter
be
eggs.
triple click if we didn't have a taxonomy.
If we didn't have taxonomy, we do, and we have some categories for secrets too. We'll get into that a little bit later, but for now, I just want to say I think the difference between a secret and a mystery and an Easter egg is so a secret is something you can finish a game without finding, whereas a mystery is something that is unveiled over the course of the game. You can't, like, you will learn a game's mystery by finishing it. Otherwise, it's a secret. An Easter egg is a type of secret where there's no reward. The reward is just the discovery of it. So, like, hey, look, there's an Easter egg that is, I don't know, to pick Elden Ring, for example, there's a dude in Elden Ring who has the Solaire sun from Dark Souls on his outfit. That's an Easter egg where it's like, oh, okay, cool. That's a fun little thing I just spotted. Or like, I don't know, Destiny having a Halo helmet in it somewhere, or something like that.
Can I offer maybe this additional piece of information for the Easter egg definition? And that is that, to me at least, an Easter egg tends to be a thing from another thing.
Yeah.
Like the
Right.
Master Chief helmet in Halo.
It's come to mean that. I don't think it always did, but it seems as though it nearly always means that now.
Not always. Okay, I would argue that, yeah, either
I
a
just
thing
mean
for another
socially.
thing.
That's how people
or like,
use the
it could be a
term.
hidden message from the developers, like a secret is just like,
Right,
hey, hello,
sure.
you found us. Like, thanks for finding this thing.
Well, like an adventure, right? The first video game Easter
Exactly,
egg is the developer
exactly.
putting his name in the game. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, that's the type of thing. Like some fun little message.
Bing! Kirk here with a little bit of a historical addition that I wanted to make. So I was referring to Warren Robinett, who made Adventure, the 1979 Atari game where he put his name into it, commonly held as the first video game Easter egg. But as it turns out, I was double checking myself while editing the episode. In a 1977 Atari game, Starship 1, the engineer Ron Milner put in a little secret where you could enter a code and get 10 lives, and it would say, "Hi, Ron," when you did it. And that was 1977, so 2 years before Adventure, which makes it possibly the first Easter egg. Goes to show you really never can say that something was the first when it comes to video games. All right, back to the show. Bing!
But anyway, a secret, I think what really categorizes a secret is that you'll find it, you'll think, oh, this is cool, or you'll think, oh, this isn't cool. And you'll get some sort of reward out of it in the game. I think that's kind of part of the definition of a secret. So that said, let's talk about some secrets in video games. I mean, do you guys have any that like come to mind as like your favorite secrets that you found in a video game or you've learned about in a video game?
Oh, sure. Like from my childhood, the fact that you could find invisible blocks in Mario and that sometimes they would give you cool rewards was just a hugely important thing to me and my sister playing Mario games growing up. Like one or the other of us would discover it, would have bragging rights for whatever period of time elapsed before the other one discovered something else cool. And it was just awesome. And you would jump around wildly hoping to discover something hidden in a Mario game. It was the coolest possible thing. Would I do that as an adult? I don't know. I think the way I'm playing Tunic betrays that maybe I do and I would, because I still get really freaking pumped every time I find a hidden ladder in Tunic. So I think I am tapping back into whatever sensation that is of finding something that was left there for me to discover but has been purposefully made invisible, and I just have to trip into it. I do really still love that feeling.
Yeah, that kind of secret from when I was a kid. I didn't own a lot of game consoles, so I would go to my friends' houses and they would know about things like invisible platforms in Mario, hidden areas in Zelda. And whenever they'd show me, I presume they were learning about them from Nintendo Power or something. But it always felt pretty wild to me because the game doesn't really tell you about those secrets, which is a kind of a distinction, right? Where there are secrets in Elden Ring that the game kind of does tell you about if you go talk to everybody. Or in Tunic has this whole complex built-in way of explaining things to you that we'll probably talk about more in detail in a moment. But in those older games, it's just this feeling of, oh man, so just at any moment in any part of this game, there could just be a secret thing hidden. That always felt a little bit overwhelming to me, actually, as someone who didn't have the console at the time.
It's called trying to sell you the strategy guide. Trying to get you to pay to call the Nintendo tip hotline. It's interesting. I actually think that that sort of thing, whether it's Mario's hidden blocks or other more esoteric things, like in Super Mario Brothers 3, in level, I think it's 1-2 or 1-3, if you duck while standing on top of a certain white block for 5 seconds, you will fall beneath the scene, behind the scenery, and you can run to go get a hidden warp whistle. That sort of thing is so esoteric and impossible to know unless you have a guide, unless someone tells you, that it almost feels like it would be considered bad game design today, or maybe it would at the very least frustrating.
Well, what you describe, you've sort of delineated in this list of secrets that we're going to get to that some secrets are like that. You need a strategy guide. No one would ever just happen to be ducking, sitting on top of that block for 5 seconds or however long it is. That's absurd to imagine.
Right.
But my sister and I did not have access to strategy guides. So when we found secrets, we truly were just accidentally finding hidden blocks or platforms because we didn't have that many video games.
Right.
So we would just play Mario over and over.
So what I was also going to say is that bad design is very much a subjective thing, because if you're a young kid like you and your sister were, and you somehow stumbled upon this one, that ducking for long enough in this one place, if you somehow stumbled on that, your mind would be friggin' blown, your head would explode if you organically stumbled upon something that arcane. And same with I wrote down here on my notes that emote in Bloodborne. I brought this up a few weeks ago, how basically you do this random emote at just a head full of eyes in Bloodborne, and you get some item. And while that nobody would ever think to do that, if you happen to be the 1 in a million player to think to do it, and you get something as a result of that, again, your head just explodes and you're like, oh my god, I can't believe I found this.
And then what's so cool, of course, which we've discussed many times related to Elden Ring and from games, is that there is the one person who figures out how to do that, but they have a mechanism to leave a note for you that can then tell you to do it. And tri-gesture is the kind of thing that you'll see, where there's a secret in Elden Ring in the very final area of that game. I won't spoil, but it is there's a whole huge secret, really cool thing that I'm sure you could look up, and there's all kinds of websites that'll tell you where to go. But I didn't look it up, and I was just exploring the final dungeon and followed notes over to an area. And then actually you have to do, it's kind of an emote kind of a thing. You have to do something specific. So I'm walking around, I've followed this path, followed the notes that are try down, this here, all the usual ways that they tell you through the notes in the game where to go. And I get down to this area and I'm on this platform and there's nothing there. And I'm like, there's never nothing there. There has to be something here. And I see one of the ghosts in that game, which when you're playing these games, you'll see these white ghosts, if you're online, that are the outlines of other players just sort of flitting through your game. It's a really cool part of these From games. And I see the ghost go and do the thing that I need to do to access the secret. I have no idea if this was, they're kind of nudging people in that way. They're playing that ghost for people more often or, more commonly or something. But I saw it and I was like, how did he do that? And I go over and there's a little prompt and I do the thing and then I go and see the secret. So these days you have it built into the games in these really elaborate, really cool ways. That definitely didn't used to be the case.
Well, so that's what makes Elden Ring so brilliant, and what's such a design, like that social aspect. I guess that's the equivalent. It's the in-game equivalent of being at the playground with your friends and saying, "Hey, did you try ducking down this thing?" Except now, instead of just being able to do that and just being able to talk about it on Discord, you also have this in-game mechanic that is like these notes and those ghosts, which I think are such a brilliant way of doing it, and what can really make, I think, can let the designers get away with more arcane secrets, because they know that a lot of people will have these guides, and like you can stick hidden passages in random places knowing that there will be notes telling the player, hey, there's a hidden passage over here.
So can we talk a little bit about Tunic? Can we sort of lay out for people what that game is and talk a little bit about it? Because it does some interesting stuff with this. Okay, I guess I'll describe it. I think I've played the least of the three of us. I've played a few hours, though. This is a really cool game. It's a new indie game. It's a Zelda-like, I'd say. If you look at it, you would think it's kind of Zelda-ish, an isometric, third-person action RPG. But the trick of it, the sort of hook, is that it doesn't really... There's almost a meta layer of the game, because as you're exploring it, you have no idea what does anything. And a lot of the in-game text, like the UI, is this other language. It's in these kind of runes, these glyphs that you can't understand. But then sometimes things are written in English, so it'll be kind of a mix. So at first, I just found myself kind of intuiting what I'm supposed to do, because I've played one of these games before. So I'm like, okay, well, there's a drawing of my guy rolling, and then it shows me holding the A button to run. And I'm like, okay, well, that means that if I hold the A button to run, but it doesn't say hold the A button to run. It's like written in some gibberish. And then as you explore the game, you find pages from a manual that you pull up and can look at on your screen. And then as you go farther into the game, you're getting more and more pages from the manual. Some of the manual is written in that glyph language, but some is in English. And also there, like I was saying, there are these kind of, images that you can use to deduce what they're talking about. And the manual is like a guide, and it has maps to all the areas. It's sort of telling you everything. So it's this extra layer of secrecy, basically, where the game is saying, you don't know how to do this, you don't know how to do anything, but we're going to slowly piece it out for you. You're playing a game within a game, right? And you're looking through the manual like you're playing an old Nintendo game. And even like you're playing an old, like Japanese import of a Nintendo game where the manual is written in a language that you don't understand, and you're having to use context clues to piece it out. So there's all these layers of mystery in the game as you play through it.
So one of the really cool things about that is that by not telling you what anything does, it leaves you that sense of like mystery and exploration and wanting to just discover things organically, to the point where like games that just prompt you and tell you exactly what can be done don't leave any mystery for you. And I think that's one of the reasons Elden Ring has been such a big success, is that it never tells you what exactly can or can't be done in this game, and just leaves so many things mysterious, and it leaves so much potential for you. And I think Tunic has that same sort of effect.
Yeah, which can be very satisfying when you do figure it out. And I certainly had many moments in Tunic where I was like, oh, this object is actually very similar visually to this other object. So if I do this action that I know worked in the previous instance here, maybe it'll do something similar or something useful, and then that would end up working. But then there would also be times where it would do absolutely nothing, or I would just be like, this is a cool looking object, maybe that matters, or maybe it's just a cool looking object or piece of architecture, I don't really know. And then there would also be times where I would figure something out, but it would be almost by accident and not in a good way, where I would be like, I never would have figured that out. I just happened to see the right thing at the right time. Like okay, for example, maybe this is how the game is meant to be played. I don't know. But like at one point before I played the game, my boss at Polygon, Chris Plant, was talking to me about the game, and he was like, man, I only just figured out how to level up my weapons in this game. And it doesn't really make any sense. But anyway, and he just said that in passing, and that like stuck with me. And then when I was playing the game, I was like, there's going to be a way to level them up, but heck if I know what it is, and what could it possibly be? So I was like working backwards and just ended up figuring it out. And I don't actually know if the game ever does tell you how to do that. I won't betray it to the listener.
It does. There's a page in the manual that I actually just found that told me how to do that, or at least how to upgrade my health and armor and that kind of thing. Yeah.
And your strength, which I assume, I mean, it does apply to your sword. But I just kind of figured it out on my own, because I was like, I know this is possible to do, but I'll just keep trying different stuff until I figure it out.
Which is that's a classic feeling, right?
I don't know. Yeah, it's good and bad, I
That
guess.
feeling of like, I'm just going to brute force this.
Well, it's also like, I heard someone tell me you can do this thing in this video game, so I know it can be done. And But it's not exactly discovering a secret, although in Tunic, every single thing is a secret. Like learning how to level up is a secret.
I think it kind of is. It's like a way of discovering a secret that's similar to how we would have to find secrets back in those older games, where it's just like, I'm going to press every button, then I'm going to hold them down, then I'm going to press them all in combinations. I did that for a little while, and I found a very important ability by doing that.
It's a useful
worst.
strategy. I should try that.
Yeah, just try every single thing.
Yeah, try pressing every single button at the same time and see if it does anything.
First, you make a spreadsheet. You put some tick boxes.
Yeah.
I want to try calling the Nintendo hotline and see if they have some tips for me.
I'm surprised Tunic doesn't have a hotline, because it does have that energy. And I think that's both what's good and bad about Tunic. Like, it does very much feel like a game that is playing to the audience that enjoys that sensation of discovering stuff in a game that is purposefully obscured to you. But there are some puzzles in that game that I thought were a little too far, where it was like, oh, I figured out how to solve this, but it wasn't that fun. But the great news is you don't have to do all of it. You can actually defeat the game without solving every puzzle, and I know because I have done that. So there are optional puzzles, basically, is what I'm saying. Like, you can 100% the game, and I think you can get a better ending. So I haven't gotten it, but it's like I don't know. I don't want to spoil you guys.
Do you think that Tunic is coming out at a particularly good time for this kind of game? Because, Elden Ring obviously is such a mysterious game, and it's so successful, and everyone's playing it. And it seems like a lot of people are really discovering, even as we discovered when we were talking about the widely adopted ecotag system of categorizing open world games.
More and more people are telling you about ecotag.
Everyone's talking about ecotag.
Everybody. But everyone's talking about mysteries. And we realized it, I think, when we were talking about open world games, of like, wow, all of the games that we like are the games that have mystery. And I think, Jason, you even said, of all the games I had listed, you're like, the only ones I've finished are the ones that are built around mysteries. And it seems like this is a really good moment as people are just embracing that more. And I'm thinking of a lot of my favorite games from recent years. I mean, Inscription is a good one from last year.
I was going to say Inscription.
Right. It's like deep in its DNA is that old feeling.
It's that, but it's also Inscription combines a few different things, where it has certain kinds of puzzles where you just have to keep observing different things in the room in order to progress and be, at least in the first act I'm referring to, you have to observe the room you're in and be like, which of these things adds up to anything, these meaningless objects, and like you just talk to the right characters and you figure it out, which almost to me, it's what Jason refers to as a mystery, because you have to figure it out in order to progress.
Right, as opposed to a secret, which feels more optional.
But I feel like Inscription and Tunic are doing something similar with the idea of discovery, which is sort of purposefully obscuring what's really going on, and that discovery is a pleasure that people have, or they hate it. I feel like it's a very love it or hate it reactions that people have to this kind of thing, where either they're like, I hate that this game won't just tell me what's going on. And I want to emphasize that I'm very sympathetic to that mindset. And if you are that person, I feel for you. And I've certainly had that sensation in my life about some things. With Tunic, I had fun, but I can't understand someone downloading it and being like, are you serious? Like, please tell me how to jump.
That's an extreme.
But Inscription also doesn't tell you what's going on, and you just have to figure it out on your own.
But it does. No. Tunic doesn't. Okay, so both games don't tell you what's going on, but Tunic also doesn't tell you how to play, whereas Inscription tells you very explicitly everything you need to know about how to play. I think the not knowing exactly how to play or what things do might frustrate people off of Tunic, and I think Tunic's really cool, and we'll talk about it more in a couple of weeks. But that's a total extreme on the ecotag scale. It's way on.
But they're both subversions of expectations. Though they're both like taking an old game and evoking that idea of secrets as reflected in old games and being like, what if we take that and modernize it in some way?
I think that's an important similarity that the two games have is that they both break the fourth wall in different ways and are evoking the feeling of within the game you are playing a game or interacting with, in the case of Tunic, a manual, in the case of Inscription, all kinds of stuff that goes like you've installed the game on this computer, you're someone playing the game within the game. Like that, they're kind of invoking the memory of what it felt like to play those more old-fashioned games in a really conscious way by putting it inside the game in a fourth wall breaking way. I'm thinking about Fez. So Fez is like what? Early 2010s. And that game, it made a big impact. I feel like people talked about it, but in a way, I mean, Tunic reminds me of Fez in a lot of ways, but Fez was Fez ahead of its time, or was it just sort of a parallel track where mysteries were still kind of happening, but at a lower boil? It just feels like the early 2010s were nowhere near as focused on secrets and mysteries, at least not in mainstream games.
Fez is definitely ahead of its time.
It's just the true crime situation. Everybody likes mysteries now. Everybody wants to solve. Everybody wants to be a detective now. That's what it is.
So I think this, to me, all of these games and this zeitgeist of mystery games, going all the way back to Outer Wilds, it almost feels like it's kind of a counterculture, like a reaction, a very, very much the opposite reaction to this trend that we've seen in bigger games, which is the developers not wanting any content to be in the game or any like important content to be in the game that the player won't be able to see. And so
it's really kind of an anti-capitalist game design. It really sort of is. It's like we're not going to get maximum value out of this game. We're going to decide instead to hide things and not embrace that mindset.
Yeah, and maybe you don't see it.
Well, but it's also, I mean, yes, that's certainly part of it, and then the other part
I'm not kidding. I'm being serious. That's really cool.
Well, the other part of it, which I guess is also tied to capitalism, is just that the games have gotten so much more expensive to make that every single piece of content now costs millions instead.
Right, there are all these incentives to be sure the players see every single thing.
Right, so you want to make sure the player sees everything.
But the results is exhausting sometimes. Aloy constantly reminding me, oh boy, I gotta go back and talk to that person. And I'm on my way to talk to them. Literally walking over as Aloy, and she's like, oh, I can't forget to talk to them. Oh, I just can't forget. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, Aloy, calm
Maddy,
down.
I just did a quest last night. Oh my God. I just finished a game last night. There's a point where literally the last line of a cutscene is like, all right, Aloy, go to that tower. And then the first thing you see, it's zooms back into playable mode. Aloy says to herself, I should go see that tower. It's literally the first thing.
But then 2 minutes later, she'll say it again. Even if you're on your way, it's
Never
come
ends.
on, I got it. I know.
So those quest reminders can just be annoying just because they're sort of repetitive and unnecessary. The things that bug me in that game, and I always think of this as the Tomb Raider effect because this became a real problem in the new Tomb Raider games, is when Aloy tells you the solution to a puzzle, which is actually more directly related to secrets and mysteries.
Yeah, it's anti-secret in every way.
Annoying.
It's there's no such thing as a secret.
She's sitting there looking at the thing and she says, I need to pull that thing down so that I can weigh that door open. And I'm like, dude, I'm looking at the puzzle. I'm figuring it out. Please stop telling me how to solve the mystery. Especially because these are optional those little Zelda puzzles that are in that game that are cool. And I'm like, I don't even need to be doing this. This isn't even main path. You can just relax, guys, and let me fail if I'm going to fail and walk away and maybe come back later.
Or maybe you never come back. Maybe you miss it. And that's okay too. I mean, that's part of what makes it so exciting in a game that doesn't tell you everything. I mean, we talk about Elden Ring all the time, but part of what's so exciting about that sort of game is that tripping over something and feeling like you were the only person to discover it, even if it was actually designed so that you would trip over it, quote unquote, and almost everyone is going to find this cool little cave and this piece of lore on an item. It feels like you're the only one who found it because your character wasn't like, oh, I should go check out that cave. And you meet 6 NPCs who are like, have you heard about that cave? Shit gets real crazy when you go in that cave. It's just,
so I'm playing through Elden Ring now on New Game Plus, and there really is a lot of stuff that I missed the first time. As much as that game does nudge you in all these different directions and it points you in, certain ways and tells you how to check things out, there's so many things that I missed, and I'm finding that in particular I'm really enjoying the mystery that is Elden Ring's story. This was my one more thing last week, so I already talked about this a little bit, but piecing together what's going on in the world, who's who, what happened here, just It's cool for a couple of reasons. It's cool because it's all very non-linear and spread out, and you can totally miss things. I'm talking to Sorcerer Rogier, who I totally basically missed the first time through, and he explains all this stuff.
Yeah, and he has a whole quest line that you can do.
When he explains the Night of the Black Knives, which like tells you more about Ranni and on and on and on. So it's cool because it's so spread out, but it's also cool because the narrative is itself is still a mystery. Like even with every single piece of information that could possibly be made available to me, there are huge holes and like things that you just have to fill in for yourself because it just doesn't lay it all out. So not only are they content to have the story be missable in the parts that they are giving to you, they're also happy to not even give you the whole story and make it so that you have to fill in the blanks. And I'm really finding, it's funny, everyone talks about lore videos like Vati Video, who's fantastic. He does great work. But honestly, it's been so fun not watching those videos and trying to piece it together for myself. I've found it so rewarding because I'm doing the work on my own and I'm trying to solve the mystery on my own. And yeah, I'll never solve it, but I don't think you can solve it. And so it's kind of liberating in that way.
Well, you're a lore master, Kirk. You're an Elden lore lord.
I was kind of a lore master
lord.
for Destiny 2.
Lore lord.
Destiny.
So I was at GDC in San Francisco a couple weeks ago, the Game Developers Conference, and I went to a panel on Baldur's Gate 3, where Sven Vinke, who is a friend of the show, he's been on
good old Sven.
He was on Split Screen a couple times back in the day. He was talking about early access, and the panel was not about this, but he mentioned one thing that really stood out to me, which is he showed this heat map of a part of Baldur's Gate 3. The game is in early access right now. Obviously, it's not coming out for real for a while still,
right.
until next year at the earliest. He was showing this heat map, and the heat map is like how many players have been to each location, right? And he was talking about how like they use that as interesting data, not just to see like, okay, are the players finding the main path, but also is the secret area secret enough, or is it too secret, or like how do we find the balance here? And that's really stood out to me because like Larian with Divinity Original Sin 2 and other previous games, and now Baldur's Gate 3, they are one of the few developers that is really not afraid to just not let players like to make stuff that players will never see, that most players will never find, because they believe in the value of secrets. And I think that's super cool, and I think it's really ballsy today to make big budget games where like there's giant swaths of content that might have cost you millions of dollars to make, and man hours and voice acting and motion capture, but many of your players will never actually see it. And I just think that's so cool when curious players are rewarded with stuff like that.
It's kind of a value proposition, right? Because you can assign a value to something that costs money to make that not everyone will see. Like it's a very simplistic way to think about making something, that the only way that it can have any worth is if it is seen by the maximum number of people, because there's actually value in something having been a secret and to not everyone getting to see it. Like withholding from the people actually gives it value as well. So if you spent money making it, you're still giving it value by making it secret.
Sure,
I wish more people could think that way, because it's like an actually logical way of thinking about value.
An important way to put that is I wouldn't even say like withholding it from some players. I would say withholding it from the rushing player, or the player who doesn't take the time to explore.
Well, yeah, some players.
Curious. Some players.
Those players, yeah.
Well, I just think that's an important distinction. So it's not like this game is saying we are intentionally like taking things away from you or withholding things from you. It's more that it's like a bonus if you choose to play the game in a curious way, as opposed to if you're just kind of playing normally. And then I kind of the flip side of this is that if you're a parent like myself, or if you're a player who doesn't have a lot of time to poke around and to really spend a lot of time gaming, and you're like, man, I have 1 hour of gaming time a night, like I'm not gonna waste it poking around and leave my hour session feel like I'm wasting my feeling like I've wasted my time, then this sort of thing can be annoying for you. But then again, I don't know, I've found that in my limited gaming time, the nights that I've spent accomplishing nothing in Elden Ring were even more rewarding than like playing some other shit that just guides me the whole time.
It's also a nice thing about the way that game communities and the internet work now, because Destiny is a great example. So Destiny was a game with so many secrets in it that became super wild. And we talked to Dado, the Destiny YouTuber who's like the master of finding every single secret. We had him on Split Screen at least once, right, to talk to him about this stuff. But he just dedicates
the Secret Hunters of Destiny. People
right, we did a whole thing about that. And then, of course, like later secrets, even after the Vault of Glass, there was some banana stuff, that like Outbreak Metroid Prime quest was just this totally crazy crowdsourced thing. I could never do any of that. Like, I have plenty of time to play video games, but I still can't do it. But it was really fun to watch him do it and to watch his videos about it. Like, you can go and kind of experience the secrets, the really high level stuff, even if you don't have the time for it. Just like you can go watch, VaatiVidya or some other lore explanation for a game. Mossbag's amazing Hollow Knight lore explanation, if you didn't have time to piece that all together for yourself.
Let's go through a couple of secret taxonomy, because I feel like we can't do an episode of Triple Click without.
No, we need some more. We need some more categories.
Yeah, we got to break it down.
So I just want to fire off some types of secrets. The subversive secret. So like you find a bunch of gravestones and the first two are empty, and then the third one has something. Oh, it's a subversive secret.
You're not calling this rule of threes? Okay. Go on.
Well, it's not necessarily rule of three. Sometimes it'll just be
maybe the first 4 gravestones are empty.
Well, or sometimes it's like different areas of the world, and like one area has nothing, one area, whatever. The arcane secret, we talked about that, esoteric stuff. The obvious secret, you see that waterfall, better be a chest behind it. And in fact, I go so far as to say that the obvious secret, sometimes if there isn't a secret there, players will get mad. Like sometimes the obvious secret needs to be there.
Though it can be a joke. I feel like in From games, sometimes you'll follow the path around the side of the cliff, and then you just get to the wall and there's nothing there, and there'll just be a note that says like, didn't expect dung or whatever, or just dung with a guy falling down, and that can be
didn't
funny.
Expect disappointment. Yeah. The curious secret, like in Elden Ring, if you get on top of one of those flame pillars that go in and out of the ground, and you can find a secret entrance there. The curious secret is basically, what would happen if I did this? And sometimes it'll just lead to instant death, and then other times it'll lead to something cool. The mechanical secret, weather affects spell damage. Did you know that? Like other mechanical secrets, I think, are always really interesting. But Breath of the Wild is full of those. The real world secret, Kirk,
these are some that I added.
Yeah, this is an
coordinates
ARG
in the real world.
Yeah, so the
situation.
real world,
Secret.
right, is when it comes into the real world. I think Destiny did that at least once.
Destiny
right?
did that geocache thing. Yeah. This one is rare. The teasing secret, this hints at something that'll be in the sequel. Good stuff. The imaginary secret, this isn't actually intended to be a secret, but people are convinced it's real, like that seventh chest in the Vault of Glass.
That's why I added that, is
Mew
because
under the truck or whatever. Is that
or like bringing back Aerith in FF7.
The playground secret.
Yes, urban legends, basically.
But I had to just mention the Vault of Glass in Destiny because I know I mentioned it before, but we did Jason and I made a whole scripted episode of a podcast about the secret hunters of that raid.
Yeah, we'll link it in the show notes. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a fun experiment in making that kind of podcast. But what was interesting was a lot of the things that those people were chasing after were illusory. Like, they were things that Bungie was kind of egging them on, and there were maybe some things you could find, but they weren't actually going to lead to some amazing, double Yallarhorn or something. Like, they were just weird little remnants of different versions of the Vault of Glass. But people still had a lot of fun and put a lot of work and like built a whole community around finding them because it was real to them. So I guess maybe that raises the question of, were they illusory in the first place?
And what's the value in discovering a secret? I mean, I had that experience sometimes with Tunic and just with games in general, where I'll do some complex thing and then the reward is not very interesting. But of course, that doesn't matter. The point is not to get some cool item sometimes. The point is to have solved a puzzle to get a golden coin or whatever it is, whatever completely useless trash is at the end of solving a really sick puzzle.
Like in Breath of the Wild, it's usually a Korok seed, but I'm usually so tickled with whatever it is that I just did or whatever mystery I solved that I'm like, cool, a Korok seed, fine.
Well, I don't know. I actually disagree with this.
No, I know you usually feel differently.
I think that the reward should be. I actually found that a little frustrating about Breath of the Wild. Yeah, and I actually think that's where Elden Ring is really triumphant, and that the rewards aren't always necessarily good, but they're always interesting, and they're always new and unique in some way.
I mean, a lot of times it's just a mushroom for some reason.
It's
weird number of times you just get a mushroom for your troubles.
A lot of times for me, it's just random ass spells that I can never use because I didn't have magic built. But no, there's always chances. Okay, chances are higher than not you're gonna find something useless.
Yes.
But that one time where you find like a secret medallion that gets you on a lift, or like some of their super cool.
Like
stuff.
when I found the Claymore in Castle Morn and I just danced around my room for 10 minutes.
Sure.
I do the Claymore dance. That's what we call it. We Claymore users.
But the fact that Elden Ring just has so many more systems and possibilities for rewards just opens it up to a lot of cool stuff.
Well, and doesn't have weapons that fall apart. So even if you do find a cool weapon in Breath of the Wild that's going to break,
Right,
I personally
it's
do
gonna
not mind this, but I know that plenty of people, including possibly Jason Schreier, do.
No, I never minded that. The problem was that once you got the Master Sword, it didn't matter
That's
like
true.
what
It's
else you
kinda-
found. That was the
Kind
big
of
problem.
the greatest weapon. That's true.
Yeah, so that's secrets in video games. Secrets are super cool. I love them. Why don't we take a little break and then we'll be back for one more thing.
Hey, were you a reader as a kid? Like maybe you read a lot of fantasy novels,
Or horse girl books. We know how it is.
but now you're an adult and you miss reading. You're so busy and you can't figure out how to get back into books.
We're Reading Glasses, and we're here to help.
Yeah, we'll give you advice to figure out what books you love or learn to stop reading books you don't even like.
We're really big proponents of dumping that book.
Dump that book.
But most importantly, we'll help you fall back in love with reading. Reading Glasses, every Thursday on Maximum Fun.
Congratulations! You've won a ticket to attend an exclusive opportunity in a relaxing environment with two lovers.
Wow. Well, this sounds like a sort of proposition of sorts, but really it's an ad for our podcast. Wonderful. It's a show we do here on Maximum Fun where we talk about things that we like and things that we're into.
I'm Rachel McElroy, and you just heard Griffin McElroy, and we are excited for you to join us as we talk about movies and music and books.
Things like sneezing or the idea of rain.
Can you get news or information you can use? I don't think so.
Absolutely you cannot, because we're here to talk to you about pumpernickel bread.
You can find new episodes on Wednesdays.
So catch the wave.
And we are back. Kirk, Maddy, it is time for one more thing. Maddy, take us away, because you've been talking about your one more thing already for the past 40 minutes.
That's true.
I know. So I picked Tunic. We probably will talk about this game a little more in a couple weeks, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the easy mode in Tunic because I think it's interesting.
I love it, but go ahead.
Yeah, because it rules and people should just turn it on. So I kind of think that and I kind of don't. Tunic has very limited easy mode options. But I guess I should say the reason why I'm even talking about this at all is because the combat in Tunic is not very good, in my opinion. It feels floaty to me. Especially compared to other really precise isometric games like Hades is sort of the go-to example for practically everyone. You really
Death's
know
Door,
what you're hitting
though,
and when.
also.
Death's Door is another more recent example where it feels really good to play. I haven't played Death's Door. I've just heard these comparisons bandied about.
Played a lot of it, and it's quite a bit tighter than Tunic.
Oh yeah, and I mean, I also feel like the comparisons are a little unfair. Tunic has a significantly smaller team. It was made by just one guy for a long time. It's really hard to fine-tune combat. Hades had an early access release that didn't feel the same, and they improved it over time. I mean, it's sort of apples and oranges in some ways, and I am sympathetic to Tunic for not having, pixel perfect 60 frames a second, totally sick Dark Souls combat in isometric form. However, because it doesn't have that, and because the game does require you to defeat a lot of bosses, I would recommend turning on the easy mode, which is called No Fail. And it really just makes it so that even when you run out of health, everything just keeps going. You just have 0 health and the game just allows you to continue on. There have only been a few times I've used this. I didn't use the stamina one at all. There's another setting that just allows you to have infinite stamina, but I didn't mind the stamina regen. That didn't really bother me. The times when I used No Fail would mainly be when I had conquered an area or felt like I'd gotten whatever I could emotionally get out of having combat conquered an area, and I just wanted to explore it, and I saw some cool areas, and I just wanted to check them out for a little bit longer without having to slash every frog in the throat a billion times and collect my souls. I would just turn on No Fail, and it doesn't change the game. Like it makes it feel like you're role-playing a video game because you can never die and you still have to kill all the guys. Because once they're aggro, they're really aggro, which is another thing about this game that is a little tough compared to Dark Souls. But you still have to kill them in order to go about your day. But you don't really have to worry about it because you know they can't kill you. So you're just kind of chilling and you can just do whatever you want. So yeah, I recommend doing that. I've seen people say they played the entire game this way and enjoyed the heck out of it. I think that's great and totally valid. And the game is actually quite enjoyable this way, more so than you might think.
Yeah, I mean, the stamina mode is kind of cool because you can just infinitely block with your shield,
Right.
which is a pretty big boost, but it's not as big of a boost as just being invincible. I'm finding that I really like it, and I'm more forgiving of the fact that this game's combat isn't that great because it's what we've been talking about on this whole episode. It's not really the game's aim to just be a really great combat exploration game. It's also doing this whole big puzzle mystery thing. And that layer is so interesting. And I would say that layer is the thing that makes the game stand apart. So there are totally times where I'm just exploring and I'm like, man, it's partly that I just played 100 whatever hours of Elden Ring. It's partly that I played so much Death's Door last year, which really does feel similar, but just plays a lot better. And I'm like, I don't need this, man. Like, I don't need this, like, being chased around by super tough enemies and having to figure out all the parry timing. Like, I just don't care. I want to open the door and get to the next area. And it's really nice that it lets you just turn that on. And yeah, the game doesn't really suffer for it. I like that it doesn't affect anything. You can turn it on, turn it off. I would definitely recommend people play around with it. It's a nice feature.
I recommend it too.
So, Maddy, you didn't find that it made things feel less satisfying for you at all?
I mean, no, I would say the only issue I had would be that sometimes I would turn it off and forget that I'd turned it off, or turn it on and forget that I turned it on and be like, wow, I'm killing it. And then be like, wait, I still have no fail mode on. Or I think I was on no fail mode and then I would die and I'd be like, damn it, now I got to go get my souls. But other than that, I just kind of turned it on and off so willy-nilly that I was never like, oh boy, am I achieving something or not? Like, I just stopped thinking about it. At this point in my life, I'm like, whatever. I've got past plenty of hard things in Dark Souls, and I believe in myself. You know, I don't need Tunic to tell me whether or not I've achieved something.
Yeah,
in life.
It seems less about the self-confidence thing or validation thing, and more about the tension of the game. Like that, the tension would be gone.
It's weird because you don't really notice it in the moment because I don't know. Try it. I mean,
good to know. Yeah, I'll play around with it.
I don't know why, but there's just something about it where you're just like, I just feel like I'm a little stronger than I was before. And then in the moment you're like, oh, right, it's because I don't have the ability to die. But if you still have to actually play the game, like you can't just walk by guys because they'll still harangue you, you know?
Yeah, for me, it's just that like when a game is kind of gooey in the way that this game is, like it just has this kind of weird, wonky feeling in combat, I don't get that much. It never feels that rewarding to master it because it's very difficult to master it because it's just kind of so floppy. And so I'm like, I'm not really getting that feeling of like satisfaction of like a Sekiro fight where I've really mastered it and it's just bing, bang, 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 bang. Like that's satisfying. This is just always a little bit whatever. So I care a lot less when I turn it on or turn it off because that's not why I'm playing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's that too. It's not like I have a great run in Tunic and I'm like, wow, I really nailed that one. It's more just I'm like, I guess I happened to step aside and press a healing button at the right time. I mean, there's so many little things about it that they're just slightly different from Dark Souls in ways that bother me because it's so similar to Dark Souls in other ways. Like the fact that when you step away to chug an Estus flask in Dark Souls, usually the enemies will almost like respect your honor in those moments. Like their animations are slow enough that they'll sort of like allow you to do that, or they'll purposefully aim at you. But even then you can see that that's happening. Whereas in Tunic, they have no respect whatsoever. It doesn't matter how far away you go.
It's a little random. They're kind of just swinging.
They either will or won't attack you, and it just, I don't know, there's something about the timing of it that just always makes it feel just slightly unfair at various points and unfun. And whenever it's feeling unfun, you turn on the no fail mode. That's my rec.
There's an answer to that.
Kirk, what's your one more thing?
My one more thing is a show that we finished a couple weeks ago that I want to tell more people about because I feel like people are hearing about it, but I'm also not getting the sense. I feel like more people should watch it because it's really good. And it's Our Flag Means Death. This is a half-hour comedy. It's on HBO Max. The showrunner is David Jenkins, though it's also executive produced by Taika Waititi, who is just living his best life. This guy, he's got Reservation Dogs, a new Thor movie. He's producing What We Do in the Shadows. He's making so many cool things.
I just want to say this is a terrible name. I've forgotten it like 10 times after you told me to watch it.
Yeah, so I guess, and What We Do in the Shadows is also sort of a bad name. It's very similar. At least it starts very similar. So what this show is it is a pirate comedy. is kind of broadly how I describe it.
Historical pirate comedy. Historical
Yes,
pirates. Not
it is
modern
based
day.
on some characters. Yes, no, not modern day. It's 1700s, 18th century pirates, like the characters that you may have met in Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. The two main characters are Rhys Darby, who people probably know from Flight of the Conchords, though he also featured in Half-Life Alyx, which a very small percentage of our audience will know. He's really good at that game.
And he's in What We Do in the Shadows for like a second.
That's
in the
true.
movie.
I mean, a lot like Kristen Shaw and what's his name from Nick Kroll turns up. All the people
there's
who are
sort
on
of
What
a
We Do in the Shadows.
Regular comedian cast.
Yeah, their kind of regular crew turn up on this show as well. So Rhys Darby is playing Steed Bonnet, who is a real person, I believe is a character in AC4. And Taika Waititi is playing Edward Teach, otherwise known as Blackbeard, the infamous pirate. And the show starts out and it feels very similar to What We Do in the Shadows. It's not a mockumentary, so there's no like cutaways to people talking to the camera, but it has that same goofy energy where it's like people who are bad and scary, but actually are really sweet and funny. Like it's that same sort of energy. They're very goofy. His whole pirate crew, they're all terrible, bumbling pirates, and he's the worst pirate of all. But then what's really cool about this show is once Blackbeard turns up, it changes. The show shifts at about episode 4, and it becomes a much more heartfelt, much more interesting, and much more good show, I think. Like, it was funny at first. I was enjoying it plenty. But man, first off, Taika Waititi is a great actor. I didn't really know how good he is. And like, it's a wonderful story of this like friendship, this relationship between these two men. And then really all of the supporting cast, they really are just all fleshed out in all these surprising and really cool ways. And it winds up being this like emotionally involved, wonderful story. I really can't recommend it enough. We finished it and I was like, that was so good. That wasn't at all what I was expecting when I went in. It was just so much better.
Yeah, I loved it. We watched it very quickly, and I'm
it goes
extremely
fast.
sad that there isn't more.
Yeah.
It ends on a little bit of a cliffhanger, I
It
will
does.
say. Just as a warning, because we finished it, and I was sad that was where it ended, and I wanted more very badly. So I hope they get renewed for season 2. I went through a phase of thinking pirates were very cool when I was a teenager, and I feel like I've really tapped back into that self from the past watching this show. And now I think being a pirate is really cool, super dangerous and really, really cool.
Between this and the new Monkey Island announcement, it's pirates are really back
Pirates
in,
are cool
back
again.
back
They're
in the zeitgeist. So my one more thing is a show called The Dropout. Kirk, I don't remember if this was your one more thing or if you just told us about this before.
No, I just recommended it. I have
Okay,
all
you
these
just
shows I've been
recommended
watching that I haven't made my one more thing because my one more thing keeps being Elden Ring.
Got it. So I will make it my one more thing, which
Nice.
is, so this is a show telling the story of Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos, aka the big fraud company that claimed it was going to be able to tell people's like all sorts of health conditions just from a single drop of blood, and then it turned out all to be just a giant house of cards that collapsed. And so The Dropout is this miniseries telling the story, all sorts of angles to it. So it's got Elizabeth Holmes, and it's got and she's played by Amanda Seyfried, and you got Sunny Balwani, who's played by Naveen Andrews, aka Saeed from Lost.
He's
and
so good on this, yeah.
Their kind of relationship is the core of the show, but it's also got really just a who's who of cast members.
Yeah, pretty stacked cast.
Playing all sorts of other characters, from like Stephen Fry to like William H. Macy, to the guy who played the dad on That 70s Show, Kurtwood Smith, plays David Bowie, he's the lawyer, which is amazing. But anyway, it's really, really good, mostly because Amanda Seyfried is really good as Elizabeth Holmes, and she just really like captures this role. Amanda Seyfried, who I first knew not from Mean Girls, kind of from Mean Girls, but really from Veronica Mars.
Yeah.
She
Oh,
plays
sure.
Lily Kane,
Which she's also amazing
The
on.
beating heart of Veronica Mars, really.
not only the
Yeah.
beating heart of Veronica Mars, also dead from the very
But
before
she
the
is a
show
ghost.
starts.
She is
Yeah.
a
She is
ghost
a
in the
ghost.
entire series, but an
But,
amazing ghost. Doing
Yes,
a great
quite
job.
a ghost.
I had no, like, her acting chops. Oh my goodness. I didn't know until watching this that she could really like this is like an Emmy deserving performance as Elizabeth Holmes. She really she masters the voice, the mannerisms, the character. She is like incredible in this role. Worth watching just for that. It's a really good show. It's really handled very well. Although I will say that I did find out that this show is different than, so the story was broken by a journalist named John Carreyrou, who wrote a book called Bad Blood that I really enjoyed. Great book. This is, even though John Carrero is portrayed in this show, this was made without his involvement and without the work of the book, even though they take a lot of their sourcing from the book. So there's another thing coming. I think it's like with Jennifer Lawrence, based on the book, which will be more of like the proper journalistic show, I suppose, or movie or whatever it winds up being, as opposed to this, which is more of an unauthorized. It's based on a podcast called The Dropout, but a lot of the reporting is based on John Carrero's. So worth noting that this isn't quite the official version of Bad Blood if you care about that sort of thing, but still very good.
I will say that I listened to that podcast and really liked it a lot. I thought it was better than the HBO documentary, and I can't remember if I think he wasn't involved with the podcast, but it was his reporting, and they do give him credit for the reporting. Like, it is very clear that he was the one who broke the story.
Yeah, well, he's part of the story also, and there's some interesting journalism stuff.
Pretty accurate, I would say. The conversations with editors and between him and his editor, I was like, this feels like, it's a little dramatized, but it feels like a believable conversation about sourcing. And
Amanda kept turning to me. I feel like, is this realistic? Is this realistic? I was like, yeah, this, and this. At one point, they're talking about sources who are speaking on background in front of the entire newsroom, and I was like, they would not be loudly talking about names like this.
But minor stuff like that. I mean, compared to Inventing Anna, for example.
Sure.
Yes. Yeah. No, definitely. No, it's very, very much a much more honorable portrayal of journalism. But there's one point where they're in this meeting with the lawyers, and the lawyers are inadvertently give out some info, and I paused it, and I was like to Amanda, like, that is the best meeting that any journalist could have possibly.
I was saying the same thing to Emily. That's so funny. I was like, those reporters are so happy right now.
Those lawyers just gave them the story, and then I unpaused it, and the editor and the reporter turned to each other, and they're like, "Now we can go. Now we can go." So that was a fun moment, because
that's a great scene. Just because the whole time the lawyers are yelling at the reporters, and I'm sitting there thinking, this is such a mistake for these guys. Like, they're blowing it, and I think they know it. Oh, that's such a good scene.
Yeah, extremely good, and that's real. That's like based on what actually happened. If you read the book, but anyway, I really recommend Bad Blood, and I also recommend the show, which is really, really good. And it's not quite over yet. I think the last episode airs this week, so looking forward to finishing that. The Dropout, really good show. All right, that is it for this week's episode. Thank you to all of you out there for listening. Don't forget, we will have our live stream next week, next Tuesday. If you missed the live stream, the episode will just be in your audio feed as usual. But if you can, check us out. Catch us on Twitch, Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern. Link to the Twitch will be in the show notes, and also we'll tweet it and stuff. Listen to Discord. So yeah, look forward to that. It'll be a fun one.
It's going to be fun. I'll see both of you then.
See you next week.
Bye.
Triple Click is produced by Jason Schreier, Maddy Myers, and me, Kirk Hamilton. I edit and mix the show and also wrote our theme music. Our show art is by Tom DJ. Some of the games and products we talked about on this episode may have been sent to us for free for review consideration. You can find a link to our ethics policy in the show notes. Triple Click is a proud member of the Maximum Fun Podcast Network, and if you like our show, we hope you'll consider supporting us by becoming a member at MaximumFun.org/join. Find us on Twitter at TripleClickPod, send email to tripleclick@MaximumFun.org, and find a link to our Discord in the show notes. Thanks for listening. See you next time.
MaximumFun.org.
Comedy and culture.
Artist owned. Audience supported.